brought to you by Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian.
We fight hard, fight clean, touch him up.
Mike on top of bangs him on the left hook right away. APN bends over, then hangs on and walks it back and falls towards Mike Tyson. And time is called now, making it sloppy. They want to keep it clean, and he dusts the gloves off of Mike Tyson as well. Mike showing nice head movement and rolling a little bit. Good instructions given by the ref in the early going. Mike gets it with the right hand, and APN is down. He was really nailed with a push right hand. It's up to 5 and 6. He's not going to make it. It's 7, 8, 9, and 10. He knocks him out in the first round with a push right hand. The side of the jaw, a pivot at the end, and it's all over. Mike Tyson in dramatic fashion knocks out in the early seconds of the first round.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bout ends at 2 minutes 32 seconds of the opening round.
Subscribe so you don't miss out on any future fights and updates. In a fight that promised spectacle and delivered brutality, Jake Paul met the harsh reality of boxing when he stepped into the ring with Mike Tyson. Paul, known more for his antics outside the ring and his habit of cherry-picking opponents than for his actual boxing prowess, found himself face-to-face with a fighter who, despite his age, was anything but over the hill. What Paul perhaps assumed would be another easy payday against an older, retired fighter turned into a nightmare, as Tyson showed that even at 58 years old, he is still a force of nature. From the moment the bell rang, it was clear that Paul had severely underestimated the man standing across from him. Tyson, who had nothing to prove to anyone, entered the ring not to collect a paycheck, but to remind the world of the ferocity that earned him the nickname Iron Mike. Paul, in contrast, looked tentative, possibly realizing for the first time that he was in over his head. The younger fighter attempted to use his size and reach to keep Tyson at bay, but his efforts were in vain. Tyson's experience and ring IQ were on full display as he easily slipped past Paul's defenses, closing the distance with a relentless, predatory energy. Paul's strategy, or lack thereof, was quickly exposed as ineffective. Used to facing opponents who were either past their prime or not boxers at all, Paul had never encountered anything like the intensity that Tyson brought. Tyson's head movement, a hallmark of his prime years, was as sharp as ever. He bobbed and weaved his way inside, nullifying Paul's jab and forcing him onto the back foot. Paul, who had built a reputation on bluster and bravado, suddenly found himself with nowhere to hide as Tyson bore down on him. The setup to the knockout was a masterclass in the fundamentals of boxing, something Paul had clearly overlooked in his previous outings. Tyson began by punishing Paul's body, a tactic designed to bring down his guard. Paul, uncomfortable and out of his depth, tried to fight back, but Tyson had already seen it coming. As Paul threw a right hand, Tyson unleashed a right hand of his own, a punch so fast and so powerful that it seemed to come out of nowhere. The blow landed flush on Paul's jaw, sending him crashing to the canvas, unconscious before he even hit the ground. The knockout was not just decisive, it was a violent exclamation point that underscored the vast chasm between a YouTube personality playing at being a boxer and a true legend of the sport. Paul had taken a step too far, mistaking Tyson for just another old fighter past his prime. Instead, he encountered a version of Tyson that, while older, still possessed the same raw power and instinct that made him one of the most feared heavyweights in history. The referee didn't even bother to count. The fight was over the moment Paul hit the mat, and Tyson had once again reminded the world of what it means to be a true fighter. For Mike Tyson, this victory wasn't just about knocking out Jake Paul. It was about preserving the sanctity of the sport he loves. Tyson had seen Paul's antics for what they were, a mockery of the sweet science, an insult to the countless fighters who had bled and sacrificed in pursuit of greatness. By accepting this fight, Tyson wasn't just stepping into the ring, he was stepping up to defend the honor of boxing itself. And he did so with the kind of ruthless efficiency that had defined his career. The tale of the tape told a different story leading into the fight. Jake Paul, at 27 years old, with a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, including 6 knockouts, believed he could handle an opponent like Tyson. He stood at 6'1" and weighed in at 200 pounds, giving him a height advantage over Tyson's 5'10" frame. But none of those stats mattered once the bell rang. Tyson, who weighed in at 220 pounds, brought something far more valuable to the ring: decades of experience and a level of power that Paul had never encountered before. In the lead-up to the fight, Paul's confidence was palpable. He spoke about Tyson as if he were just another stepping stone in his carefully curated boxing career. To Paul, this was just another spectacle, another opportunity to generate headlines and make money. But Tyson had other plans. He trained like a man half his age, focusing on his conditioning and power, determined to show the world that he was not to be taken lightly. And when the time came, Tyson delivered on that promise, putting on a display of violence that left no doubt about who the superior fighter was. The aftermath of the fight left Paul in a daze, both physically and metaphorically. He had walked into the ring as a brash provocateur and left it as a humbled man, knocked out cold by a fighter whose legacy was built on moments like this. Paul had made a career out of ridiculing the sport of boxing, but in Tyson he met an opponent who could not be mocked, who would not be disrespected. The defeat was not just a loss on Paul's record, it was a reality check, a reminder that boxing is not a game, and that there are levels to this sport that he had not yet even begun to comprehend. Tyson's performance was a powerful statement, not just to Paul, but to the entire world. At 58 years old, he showed that while he may have aged, his ability to deliver punishment had not diminished. The knockout of Jake Paul will be remembered not just as a victory, but as a reaffirmation of Tyson's place in the pantheon of boxing greats. It was a demonstration that true fighters never lose their edge, no matter how many years pass. And for Tyson, this fight was more than just another win. It was a chance to remind the world of who he is and what he represents. As for Paul, the future of his boxing career is now uncertain. He had built his reputation on a foundation of spectacle and controversy, carefully selecting opponents that he knew he could beat. But in Tyson, he found a challenge that he was not prepared for, and it cost him dearly. The knockout was a brutal reminder that boxing is not a sport to be taken lightly, and that no amount of social media followers can protect you from a true fighter's wrath. Paul will need to seriously reevaluate his approach if he hopes to continue in the sport. Tyson's knockout of Paul has already become the stuff of legend, a moment that will be replayed and discussed for years to come. It was more than just a knockout. It was a declaration that the old guard still has a place in the world of boxing and that true greatness never fades. For Tyson, this fight was an opportunity to show the world that he still has what it takes, and he seized that opportunity with both hands, delivering a knockout that will go down in history. The fight also served as a cautionary tale for those who think that boxing is an easy path to fame and fortune. Paul's loss was a stark reminder that the sport is unforgiving, and that those who enter the ring without the necessary respect and preparation will pay the price. Tyson's victory was not just a personal triumph, but a victory for the sport itself. A reminder that true boxing is about skill, heart, and respect, not just hype and spectacle. In the end, the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was a clash of two very different worlds. Paul, with his manufactured bravado and carefully managed career, was no match for Tyson, a man who had spent his life in the trenches, fighting his way to the top of the sport. The knockout was a fitting conclusion to a fight that many had questioned, but few will ever forget. Tyson's victory was a reminder that in boxing, as in life, there are no shortcuts to greatness. The story of Jake Paul's defeat at the hands of Mike Tyson is one that will resonate for a long time. It was a fight that exposed the difference between a YouTube star playing at being a boxer and a true legend of the sport. Paul's dreams of boxing glory were shattered in an instant by a man who has spent a lifetime perfecting the art of combat. And for Tyson, it was a return to glory, a chance to remind the world of what it means to be a true champion.